we're getting started on Module 3, which is multiplying decimals. And we need to remember that when we're multiplying, we're also looking for patterns to help us check if our multiplication is correct. So our first lesson in Module 3 is about finding patterns to help with multiplying by decimals. So we need to remember that any number times 1 is always that original number. So 5 times 1 is 5, 300 times 1 is 300, 3,000 times 1, 3,000. So that's going to help us in our lesson. We know 9 times 1 is 9. When we look at 9 times 10, we know that it's 90. And let's dig a little deeper. So we use the base 10 system in our math, and so that's going to help us out here. We know 9 times 1 equals 9. And then if I think about how did I get from 1 to 10, well, I added a 0 at the end, so 9. My answer also has that same 0 at the end. I add a 0 at the end. So this is a pattern that we're developing. 9 times 100, well, 900. 2 zeros after the 1, 2 zeros after the 1. 9 times 1,000, 9,000. There are 3 zeros after the 1, after the 9 here, and 3 zeros after the 1 over there. So thinking about how the pattern is moving, I'm going to dig even deeper before I move on. So if I think about 1 written as a 1 decimal and then a 0, to get to 10, I just moved that decimal spot to the right 1 time. What if I wanted to get to 100? Well, I'd move it over again. So I'd have to put a 0 here as my placeholder. So every time I move my decimal to the right, my number's getting larger. Let's look about multiplying with decimals and using the same patterns that we already know. 9 times 1 we know is 9. 9 times 1/10. Well, I notice here that the decimal is 1 spot in front of the 1. I'm going to write my 9 here. I'm going to write my original decimal. But that would be for here, 9 times 1. Here, I need to scoot it 1 over. So the decimal is moved to there. Whoop, for 9/10. Now what about 9 times 100? Well, I can place my 9, put my decimal to begin with. How many times did I move it? Well, originally, my decimal was here for 1. I moved it 2 times, so here I need to move it 2 times. Place my decimal, and I need a placeholder here. So here's my answer, 900ths. What about for 9,000ths? Well, it's the same. I'm going to write my 9, move my decimal 1, 2, 3 times, 1, 2, 3 times, put the placeholders in their spots for 9,000ths. And this is pretty easy to check this theory by adding 1,000th 9 times. 4, 5, squeeze in 6, sorry about that, 7, 8, 9. So if I add 1,000 9 times, I know I'm going to get 9,000th. So my theory is working out pretty good, that I can just shift the decimal place over when I'm multiplying by either 1/10, 100th, or 1,000th. For homework practice today, the kids have some questions that look like this. 57 times some number represented by n equals, and then they'll have another number here. Well, if I think about my pattern that I've written up here, I can look closely to see what number would fit into n. So if I start thinking about n like this as a 1, because here's my 5 and my 7, my 5 and my 7, I just need to figure out where to put that decimal. Well, the decimal started here in 57, and it's moved 2 times to the left to get to this answer. So my decimal starts here in my 1, and it's going to move 2 times, and don't forget my placeholder. So n in this case is 100th. Let me try another one. What if it is a decimal times something? So let's try 6 and 1900ths times n. And this time it's gonna be 619. Well, how many times did my decimal place move? It was here, and it moved 2 times to the right. So I'm gonna put my 1 down, put my decimal, move it 2 times to the right, place my holders for 100. So I know n is 100. So there's our lesson 3.1, finding patterns in multiplication with decimals.